Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. When the pressure's on, we raise the game. New ideas and trusted names. Every week another view. Fresh tech, fresh talk. Something new. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour, where ideas and technology flower. For the shows that need to shine, for the moments that go live on time. From the gear rack to the control room view, we bring the best straight through to you. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Welcome to the Production Professionals Power Hour. And yes, I think our theme tune calls us the Protection Power Hour. Gonna have to have a look at that. Been a bit of a weird week for me this week. Firstly, we had some hot weather, which in the UK now is, just a random thing that happens. Doesn't matter what month it is. It just happens when the Gulf Stream feels that we need some hot weather. And I am pleased to announce, although it makes no difference to you guys, so you think, that I am hopefully going to be presenting at the Zoom Developers Conference. Now, I know I've mentioned the Z word already, and you don't like the Z word in this show. But it does bring me to the subject of today's show. I'm not impressed with AI. It's got so many faults, but let's face it, it's also got some really cool stuff that it can do. And like it or not, it's getting integrated into everything that we get involved in. All the tools, all the hardware, all the software that we use. I mean, really, you're lucky if you can find any tool that doesn't have AI connected to it. I mean, I bet Companion's working on an AI plugin to work with theirs as well. I mean, everything wants AI. I dare not ask Mike because he'll say, no, we haven't put it on our cameras yet. But this AI stuff did make me start thinking. In fact, I've pretty much pivoted the whole business now to being a software first company, not an AI first company, but a software first company. Because thanks to AI and SDKs and APIs and all that other software tools and methods, we are now able to connect almost anything to anything. And we don't have to wait for the guys at Companion to do it ourselves. We can do it. We can create stuff. I think I've demonstrated before. I'm tempted to demonstrate it again. I have an app. I wrote one 3 years ago. The app sits in PowerPoint because that's my product of choice. There've been a lot of others, I know. And it just happens to be, for me at the moment, Office 365 is installed and PowerPoint is where I pull all my slides from. And of course, in this world of connections, I wanted to do it on my Stream Deck because I like to do everything on my Stream Deck. You can't make tea with a Stream Deck very easily because those little plugs, they're not rated for the power you need on a kettle. So don't do that. Just a safety note there for you. But you can almost control everything on a Stream Deck or a similar device using Companion. Companion is the sort of center of my world. But why am I a software company now? Well, simply because I'm fed up waiting for other companies to provide the integration that I need and to do it the way I need and to make it work the way I need. There are other ways of making slides go backwards and forwards, but I wanted my own. I wanted to be able to load a file into PowerPoint so I could have multiple versions of presentations and I could load each one in. Yes, you've guessed it. That was Mike's idea. But I can also go forwards and backwards. I've got a status button that shows me what slide I'm on, how many slides are in. Yes, thank you, Mike, for that one. And also reminds me which PowerPoint deck I've got loaded. Now, the little utilities that I saw on the internet and the one that I created 2-3 years ago didn't do that sort of stuff. They didn't go to that level of complication. But now if I'm running big events, I need to verify to myself I've got the right deck loaded. I need to be able to control it. I need to be able to control it from anywhere. And my software now, with a bit of help from something like ngrok, can have an external internet connection. So anybody in the world, in my production team, can control the slideshows, move the slide decks forwards and backwards, can jump to a specific slide, can change slide decks, can blank it off, can turn it on. Because I wrote an app. Now, I knew 99% of what to do, but I still got a AI-based tool to help me simply because I wasn't sure if Microsoft had changed everything again, you know how they do, and whether the command structure that I used before was going to work. So instead, I just asked AI to do that bit for me. That was fine. And then I got it to help me a bit with the design of the Stream Deck buttons, but I did it myself. I didn't wait for a third-party company. We can now create our own glue. And this is why I come to the point of we all need to be a browser-based organization. Because almost all this stuff that we interact with will work through a browser. Okay, we love it when it works through Stream Decks and we can have buttons and press and everything. But effectively, this tech all works through browsers. Whether you're using a software controller or a hardware controller, your video controller is going to have some sort of browser function based into it. Almost all the equipment I can think out there, certainly all the software based, has browser interaction. A lot of the hardware based one does as well. has the ability to control things by a browser, but also to give you a browser that you can then use as an overlay. So maybe I'm a browser business now. Certainly my software is probably browser-based. That Z company, all their apps are browser-based. If I want something like a chat output, then whether I'm using a chat from Zoom or from the Z company, whether I get the chat from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from YouTube, it comes to me in a browser format, doesn't it? And then we overlay it into something else. And the good thing about being a browser-based developer or user is that, well, you can do pretty much any design you like. If you've got the control over it, you've got the chance to design it, because there's this thing called CSS, cascading style sheets, which allows you to style any element that you put on the screen, whether it be a line or a word, which of course you can change fonts for as well, or a box. You can even add SVG graphics with the vector graphics, where you define an image by lines and shapes and things. Yeah, I'm purposely trying to keep this as non-technical as possible, because I don't want you to think it is technical. And the reason I don't want you to think it's technical is if you've got a browser-based stuff that you've outputted, you can take that to any AI bot and it'll be able to read it, it'll be able to understand it. And then if you say, I want the title to be bigger and I want the background to be this color, you don't have to understand how to do the CSS. You don't have to understand how that all works. The AI will do it for you. So you can style it. I'm creating a product at the moment where the output is browser-based output. And I was sitting there trying to work out, what options I have to have. Do I have to make it bigger, smaller? Do I have to give them the chance to do background color? Suppose they want to do a gradient. How am I going to do the screen so they can do a gradient colors? And I got to a point and thought, why the heck am I bothering? Why don't I just give them the output and then say, here we go, style it yourselves. It's a step back for me, providing less, but it opens the door to so much more for them. So anything you do, if you can make it browser-based, or anything you want to use, if you can get it browser-based, there's just so many possibilities that my brain is overheating. And it's not because of the weather, because our heat wave finished yesterday night. Even Mike's PTZ cameras have a browser-based interface. You could put a browser-based interface onto your confidence monitor. You can put a browser-based interface into most video streams. Hopefully our browser-based interface is sending this all to Zoom at the moment over there. So rather than think of yourself as an AI person, which sounds a bit samey, rather than trying to call yourself a software company, where if you don't have the ability to really program software, you probably should keep quiet. But being a browser-based, whatever you want to call yourself, I think that is probably the best target if you're running events at any size. Best thing for you to do this year is to be able to integrate browser-based content. Because as I've said, there is browser-based stuff all over the market that we can make use of, bring in and process. And as we always like to say here, make your events more sexy. Oh, and by the way, I've been working on an app at the moment, and I suddenly thought to myself, supposing, because I know there are people out there, supposing not everybody wants to run it in Z. What do I do then? And of course, the answer was really easy. My app, in fact, my family of apps run in a browser in Z. So actually, it's not going to be that difficult to take those apps and put them into a browser outside Z. That browser could then be on the screen in front of me now, or it could be on their phones while they're at an event, or on their tablets, or on the computers at home, or on the laptops of the presenters, or maybe as an extra confidence monitor running in a browser on a second screen on their devices. Just deliver it all in browsers. That's it. That's my message for today. Has it impressed anyone? Got a giggle out of Mike, so that's a pretty good start. So we better bring him to the stage, or ask him to bring himself to the stage and see what he thinks of this theory about being a browser-based delivery system inside your productions. And I'm guessing a few of you have got that already to some degree. What do you think, Mike? Happy Friday.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday to everybody. So what do I think about browser-based graphics or browser-based content being overlaid over top of all kinds of wonderful video-related content? Sounds good to me. What can I say about it? The industry is doing a lot more of a push towards it. John's right. The flexibility of it is uncanny because, again, if you can make a web page look like a really good looking web page, then can you imagine what kind of graphics you truly can have on your production? It's as simple as that. You know, there's a lot of different services out there. There's a lot of different companies out there that are graphics companies, and there is a big push now to move them from dedicated video outputs so that you now have to have that video output as its own source to actually integrating the actual browser-based graphics into the actual video switching, you know, software or hardware that you're using to actually be able to bring in that browser-based graphics. And the important thing for us production people, eliminate the need for it having a dedicated input on your video switcher, be it software or hardware-based, right? So a lot of the manufacturers out there are basically saying, okay, it'll be a virtual input. So now we're getting into the virtual input world where if I can bring anything in virtually via a browser, and yes, including the Z word, as John said, in theory, we could actually bring in the Z words browser-based content if we wanted to, and bring it in to your production. You know, again, we could do the W-based one, the Z-based one, and the M and the T-based one, if you really want to go down that road too. If we're talking the, video conferencing related ways of doing things. But of course, then we've got, vMix has been doing it for a long time, where a lot of their graphics has been pretty much HTML based. A lot of it was their own engine, but again, they're slowly migrating themselves over to that. Again, all the different, OBS. Again, if you are a big fan of OBS, of course, if you don't know about the browser input in OBS, you're probably missing out. If you're definitely from the gaming world and you've seen all these different graphics that are floating up and down the sides of the gamers, 99 point, and I'll probably even dangerously go into the 5 nines, that is all HTML, aka browser-based graphics. So in the gaming world, they're doing it. In the production world, we're going, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. I guess we should do that too. So that's why John's right. Are we a browser-based company per se, especially with John's world? of him doing all the different browser-based apps that he's making. Again, a lot of software, even including one we're using today for all of us joining in our Zoom webinar, the Z Word Webinar Plus. The Workplace app is a browser-based app. Hate to blow the bubble on that. I know you're installing things, but in theory, it's a web browser sitting there making the pretty Z words as we're going, the Z program work properly. So even Z company knows that they should be using browsers.
I was just thinking of these graphics products that produce fancy graphics, and then they overload your system by sending it via an unreliable NDI or as you say, another video stream. And then you've got to integrate another video stream into your system, which is far more complicated than just bringing in a browser from thin air.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And that's exactly where the, especially the, professional video world is going, is that they're going, yeah, we get it. HTML. Okay. So we've got, all the guys that used to make the graphics before in the character generators. Oh, showing my age here. Hello. The good old CG machines are now HTML CG machines, character generator HTML based software, right? Now, I'm not saying that initially the 3D type graphics and such are still not going to be Unreal Engine or anything like that. That's a totally different ballgame here. But what we're talking about is, lower thirds, bugs. So all of a sudden, if I want to put a logo up here or the weather over there, or all kinds of, oh, here comes my name at the bottom here.
Timers,
yeah, countdown timers. All of a sudden, if I want to have, depending on the production, all of a sudden, if they want to have a cute part where all of a sudden we're, doing some sort of draw, and all of a sudden we want to digitally bring up one of those spinning wheels. Again, that could be easily built in HTML nowadays. So there's all, again, it's all in depending on, what you want to do. And again, too, John, I know friends of our show as well is Stream Alive as well. And they do the type of stuff where they bring in HTML type style graphics as well into productions. If you're also familiar with from the production world and you've used this too, H2R graphics, again, similar concept there too. So there's a lot of different graphics companies that have been doing it for a while now. You just haven't realized that what the magic sauce is in the background is it's a browser. But it's been difficult to bring it in because there's infamous key and fill for our true production guys that are doing the different key and fill of production graphics. You got to make sure that you get, and that usually took, if you're doing it really, really at the high end, you now have to use two inputs because one is for key, one is for fill. Well, again, the video switcher guys are going, yeah, that's such a waste of ports. Can we actually build in a browser into our video switcher, hardware or software? OBS did. Now all the big boys are starting to go, what do you think?
Yeah. Because you can use a Raspberry Pi or one of those really, really low-powered little processing units that can pretend to be a PC for the extent of being able to build a browser picture. That's all you need. It's not that complicated, is it really? Just to drop one of those in and then you've got your full browser compatibility.
Yeah. And on top
of
of that too,
browser's hardware independent as well, isn't it? So I know you like the world of Linux. Your browser can work everywhere.
That's right. Yeah. As long as it's, and again, too, John, again, there's 2 or 3 different main browser engines. So we can go into those briefly, which is the Chromium browser engine. Yes, everybody. That's the back end for Chrome. It's also the back end for Z. It's also the back end for Edge for our Microsoft people. You see where I'm going with this. So there's an engine called Chromium, and there's also an engine called Mozilla. And if you don't know what Mozilla belongs to, there's a hint. Mozilla Firefox. Oh, okay. So the Firefox browsers, right? Yeah. So we got the Mozilla engine, and we got the Chromium engine, and those are the two most popular, and majority of the variants of browsers out there are based on either Chromium or Mozilla. And it's been like that for years. So even, I don't know, Johnny, can you tell me from the Mac world what the engine is for, trying to remember, Safari? Which engine are they using? Their own proprietary engine, or is that?
I don't know what the history of that is, but there aren't that many major differences between the main browsers anyhow. So it doesn't, as far as standard graphics is concerned, I think you're going to be okay with most of it. But it would just be a case of, if you're a manufacturer and you put a particular browser in there, you just have to confess which browser it is. So if anything sort of you didn't expect happened, then it's probably down to the slight differences between the main browsers. But all the standard stuff is going to work.
Yeah. And again, it gets down to how complicated you want to have your graphics too, right?
Yeah.
Because there is going to still be that delineation, whatever that word is. I've tried to get it out. Between, am I staying 2D or 3D, right? Browsers, not very cool when it comes to 3D type stuff. They can do it, but they're really resource hogs. This is where, if you're going 3D, then you should really be looking into like an Unreal Engine or those type of that are built to be 3D engine generators, right? So that you get the true aspects of all the different way of the graphic floating, if you wanted it to, or whatever variation of that you want to have when it comes to that. But again, we're talking, a lot of as an example would be any type of news television channel that you would watch, type of graphics where you have the lower third, where all of a sudden they have their logo, and all of a sudden the lower third, and then they also all of a sudden bring up the person's name because they're interviewing that person. All those type of graphics easily can be moved over to HTML browser based.
And you've got SVG graphics that works. You can add a bit of JavaScript so you can make things float in and float out. Don't get carried away though, because it's, as Mike says, it's resource hungry. But as far as 3D is concerned, you can't do true 3D, but you can do some pretty fancy graphics that look 3D for coming across the bottom. They don't have to just be a boring box. They can have a sort of 3D feel to them, and they'll look cool. And as you say, we can have lower thirds, we can have titles, we can have, I'm just trying to think of everything my app does, you see now.
Yeah.
So I've got timers, and I've got a fade out screen, so you can put a title up, be right back or something like that. There's lots of things you can do quite easily in the system without too much trouble.
Yeah. Another one too, John, is tickers. So all of a sudden, if you want to bring in, if you're really into, bringing in tickers, another example is using it in conjunction with our RSS feeds. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to bring in an RSS feed for, like, let's say you are a channel that, again, like us, is production related. Well, I could actually subscribe to an RSS feed that automatically gives me the latest articles, news titles of, all the latest gear that's coming out. And I could actually have that as a ticker going across the bottom during the show. Right.
But you could have an RSS feed for your event. So you could have the ticker going across your screen every 5 minutes, remind people what the next event is or what the next event options are as a ticker. Just set it up, and that would be easy to do. I must do it now. I thought of that, so don't let me forget that one. Must add that feature.
I keep doing that to John. I'm just telling you, I keep adding to John's features. But yes, ticker is definitely another one. I'm trying to think. So WeatherBug would be another one for the local weather. Again, that could be brought in from from an actual weather source. So, and again, that could be in conjunction with an RSS feed from from the weather network, or from, the Fox Weather in the States, or insert here when it comes to weather type of feed in the UK or anywhere else in the world. So that's possible. Some of the other stuff is, of course, you can get into, if you are a production company that gets into sports, well, then, you already know that you are heavy into graphics already. So there's all kinds of different HTML based type score tickers, score clock, countdown clock. They scored penalty, how much, if it's a countdown, then, if it's hockey related, putting up, how many people are in the penalty box, all the different people's times in the penalty box. So you could actually, you go all kinds of wonderful things. But again, just be very, very careful. And this is the one thing that I do want to specify, that too much graphics also looks unprofessional too. So there is graphic overload.
Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a guy living in London. He was a Toastmaster, and he was known for being a bit of a techie. In fact, he'd helped Toastmasters play around with their websites recently. But he was a very sad Toastmaster, because something called COVID had just hit, and he wasn't able to meet with his Toastmaster friends and practice public speaking anymore. He was very sad, until he heard about a company called, yes, that Z company. And he was able to start learning how to use that Z company's product so that his people could meet together virtually. But that's not what this story is about. What this story is about is what happened 6 weeks later, when he had to use that Z company's very simple software in those days to host 1,000 people in a virtual 3-day event. So, John, what has this got to do with all this graphics you're talking about? Well, probably, arguably, the most exciting feature of that event, apart from the fact that I was able to connect all these events together, which just blew the mind of the people there, was 3 images. One was a green circle with a little darker orange and red circle. One was an orange circle with a slightly darker green and red, and one was a red circle with a slightly darker green and orange. These were very simple 3 little circles, which were up in the top. I can't remember if it was the top right or the top left, so it doesn't matter which end I point to. It was anyhow, it was in one of the corners. And when the official lights changed for the speakers in their competitions, because Toastmasters have a light system, give you an idea of how you are on time. You get a green at the optimum time, then you get an orange, and then you get a red at the maximum time. And if you go 30 seconds over the red, you're disqualified. So these lights are important. But I couldn't put those lights on the screen because they were coming from a completely different place than the speaker. So I created these 3 overlays. One where it was obviously the green light that was on, and the other 2 were just empty circles. One with the orange, and one with the red. And because tech was a little bit disjointed, I literally had to just wait for the timer to change the lights on the official timing lights. And then I pressed a button, Yes, on my Stream Deck. And yes, my vMix then changed the overlay so that everybody saw the lights in the audience. And they were amazed. They wanted to know how the heck these lights were appearing. It was like magic to them. Just a simple overlay. But that simple overlay gave value to the people watching because they now had an idea on the time. They didn't have to check a watch. They didn't have to argue about the time. They could see the light from the official timekeepers. Now, as far as Toastmasters law is concerned, we're not supposed to know about the lights. But of course, you can't miss the lights because in a physical room, they're at the back of the room and they're blaring across the room so the speaker can see them. So everybody can see the lights. And so I made sure that during our speaking competitions, everybody could see the lights. And I think that was my first. No, it was my second, because obviously I did the lower thirds for the names of all the speakers and all the things. So we did a whole load of speakers overlays, but that was my first additional graphic that I ever done in vMix. And it worked really well. And apart from the fact that I had to wait for the person to press the button to change the lights and he couldn't do it for me, it worked really well. I said that 3 times. I won't say it again. So, Mike, it doesn't have to be, as you say, it doesn't have to be complicated graphics to make a difference to an event. Whether it's, well, it doesn't matter what type of event it is. A little bit of graphics and overlays is important. I mean, if it wasn't, graphics and playing around wasn't important, you wouldn't be changing all these screen layouts for us now, would you? You would have just left us up on a multi-chat and that would have been it.
Yeah, that's right. And again, built into Z Production Studio, we also have backgrounds that you are currently seeing. So the blue background that's above and below us, that is basically an HTML blue background. It's as simple as that. And then, of course, we could always have at the top above us there, we could always have, a graphic that says, could actually have things scrolling up there, or we've got room at the bottom where we could actually be doing that there too. So
we can have borders around the video boxes, which could be a different color. And you could do that as an overlay over just over a normal layout, couldn't you? You could just we could be a 2-box from any video streaming platform or any video mixer.
Yep.
And then you could just overlay the boxes over the top of it just to add a little bit more, production values, or you have it as a background and it goes underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, it's all the possibilities are there. And as I usually tell a lot of our dealers, and I explain to those dealers to actually say to their customers that it's up to your imagination at this particular point of what you could actually do once you've got that tool of being able to do HTML graphics in a browser. It's just up to you. There are certain standards, and I'll use that term loosely, of having lower thirds, having bugs, but again, all this comes from, yes, you guessed it, the TV world, the TV production world. So if you're used to seeing it on television and you've seen graphics being done on television, you could easily recreate them yourself for your own productions, everyone. So again, with a little bit of HTML, as long as you've got the proper interface to actually bring that into your equipment, be it video, be it software or hardware, and the software and the software manufacturers are ahead of the hardware guys right now, and the hardware guys are going, yeah, okay. So now the hardware guys are actually going, okay, I'll put a browser into the video switcher, because that's what they're basically doing.
Yeah.
Will they put Chrome? No, but they'll probably put Chromium, very similar to what OBS is doing, into a video hardware video switcher. Absolutely. Some manufacturers have, some manufacturers are looking at it. and you never know what might happen into the next firmware release of the current video switcher that you're using when it comes to hardware. All of a sudden, it might just magically appear, depending on if the system can handle it, right? So, but it's definitely growing, and it's definitely growing even more since, as John brought up, is dealing with Toastmasters during COVID. COVID changed a lot in the production world, especially now with the fact that a lot of people got out of the industry because of COVID shutting down. And on top of that too, now a lot of people are going, well, if I have the gear already at the location, do I really need somebody physically there? Well, if I don't need somebody physically there, then I can do it in the cloud, or I can bring the feeds back to my master control. And yes, I'll use that master control terminology for our production people. And if you need to know a little more about that, that's from the television world as well, master control. So if I bring it back to the master control, at master control, I can have, you guessed it, HTML graphics of some sort that you could actually overlay on top of those feeds that have now come back from pretty much anywhere in the world.
And as far as expertise is concerned, if you don't understand all of it, you can use your AI tools to build your graphics for you. They do a pretty good job. I've tried them a few times, and honestly, they can do a pretty good job for you. And of course, for your customers, it's another value-added product. You can make your lower thirds graphics, not from the stock ones, which may look impressive for the first customer, but won't look impressive if you use them for every single customer. Now the door is open for you to do any graphics you like. So you can get their logo and put their logo at the front of the graphics. It can be in the box or outside the box. You can have the logo appear first and then the name slide in afterwards. Anything you want to do. And to do simple graphics, it's not difficult. And although sliding around can be a problem, it's not always impressive. Certainly dimming and brightening images to make them appear and disappear, fade in and fade out, looks smooth every time. It doesn't matter how poor your browser is. A fade in and fade out always looks good. So that's my dissertation for today. Have a think, have a look, see what browser tools you already have, what software and hardware you have that sends you browser information. Look up your favorite RSS feeds, as Mike suggested. And as Mike said, there's quite a lot of hardware and software that already has browser abilities to it. Because at the end of the day, it's far simpler and far more flexible to build something in browser than is to send, as we said, or as he said better than I did, you know, the multiple video feeds you need to make it work properly. I was looking at some hardware for green screen processing, so I could take the processing out of the computer and put it in a dedicated device. And if you want to do that properly, you don't get one video feed. You've got to do a feed, you've got to do a mask. You end up with 2 or 3 video feeds that you have to output into your device to make it all work. And it's, in a way, as Mike said, this is the same issue we've got with external equipment producing our graphics for us and then having to send it to us in a video format with various connections, with a transparency layer that's going to work. And all you really needed to have done was give me a URL, and I could have done it in the box for no overhead of plugs, no overhead of network devices, and from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, because again, it can be on any, again, it's HTML graphics. So in theory, it could actually be on any web server. Yes, I know I said web server. So any website server that you have anywhere in the world, as long as, again, of course, your production has internet access, if you're already broadcasting, if you're going to be live streaming anyways, then you could easily bring in those graphics remotely from a website. It doesn't have to be a public website. It could be even a hidden website. So that can be done on site, off site, as long as the browser understands that I'm not going to a local IP address. I'm actually going to an internet IP address. It's all about networking at that particular point, because the browser, Lord knows, we all know that browsers know how to surf. We all surf with a browser. So again, it's just bringing that capability of, yes, it's a website that is sitting somewhere, and we're just bringing that somewhere HTML URL into our production gear. And this is where the hardware guys are starting to go, yeah, we should be able to do that. And there you go. And that's where the hardware guys are doing that. The software guys, is, as John said, he was being able to do that in vMix. OBS can do that. Ecamm Live, Mimo Live, Wirecast, OBS. So I probably said that as well. All those guys all have browser-based graphics already built into them. And if they don't, they should definitely be looking into it. But I know that all the ones that I mentioned to you have some sort of HTML-based type graphics already built into them. It may or may not be coming in as a browser, but it at least it's got some sort of HTML functionality to it, where you could actually, as John was saying, play with the CSS code, play with the actual HTML code. But again, AI will help you with all that. So if you can actually build the actual page in AI as the overlay, then that, as long as you can bring that web page to somewhere that is accessible to that video or audio, to that video switcher software or hardware gear, then you've got graphics. And John, I can't let Tony's comment not go unseen. He says, what a great idea for a children's book. The Sad Toastmaster. I could not let that go by, Tony. Thank you for that, Tony, in YouTube chat. I knew John would love that. The Sad Toastmaster. He wasn't very sad. Why? Because he had HTML graphics. Yes, but if you didn't have vMix that gave you HTML browser-based graphics, you would have been a more sad Toastmaster.
I would have been. It would have been a lot harder.
Yeah,
but that just made the whole challenge of creating graphics, and I think my designer in the end, I think I just gave her. Well, she did all the designs. I think we just agreed to use PowerPoint. I know that's a bit boring, but we were only doing graphics, lower graphics and name tags and things like that. So it wasn't over the moon complicated. I think in the end we just agreed to do a PowerPoint template and then just put all the names into that, and then saved it all as separate images, and then we could overlay them on the on vMix. Simple as that. So it wasn't even HTML. The HTML graphics was just one image for each thing. So it wasn't complicated at all. But yeah, it's another one of those, oh my God, this is just so easy. Why don't we do it type thing, isn't it? I spend a lot of time trying to spend money with my credit card, trying to use my wand to buy lots of expensive tech that looks really flashy. And quite often we come up with ideas that are just so simple and yet have such an effect. Because I could buy a third-party graphics program from a wide range of manufacturers. But what I'm concerned about, and actually what I was going to talk about this week, but this came up as a better thing, was I was worried about the cost of stuff. Because thanks to the war and the cost of chips and memory, I am less likely to spend money on hardware and software. I mean, It's not a secret. People like Blackmagic have openly said, we're announcing some equipment this year. And because of the cost of some of the stuff that's coming out, memory chips and various other bits of electronics, they are not sure exactly what price they are going to be able to charge for some of their new equipment that's coming out. We have a crisis that's going to affect our whole industry. Anybody who's looking to buy new equipment, whether it be cameras or switches or machines to run software, are going to think twice this year, because the memory prices and the CPU prices and all the other prices are really ridiculously high at the moment. Well, playing around with your browser is a cheap and cheerful way of doing stuff. And I've obviously got my hardware annoyed because it blanked on me there. I'm sorry about that. But having this equipment is fine if you've got it. If you have to buy it, then it's going to cost money. Some of us don't really want to spend that money at the moment. If we can do without spending the money, then we're going to do without spending the money, aren't we? Because prices are ridiculous at the moment. We know our customers are short of money, so we don't really want to start increasing our costs and then having to pass on bigger costs if we can avoid it. Using a browser, you only need a very low powered machine if you need to display the browser information. This seems to me like a really good way of saving money, improving your production, and impressing your customers. Yes, there are products out there that do the stuff, but please don't just deal with off-the-wall products. Choose one that you've got the ability to make designs of your own, to customize, and have fun with it. And if you want to have fun with my tools when they come out next month, then you're welcome to use those as well. But Mike, that's all I have to say, really.
I was going to say, there was a big dramatic pause there from both of us. I'm like, wow, what else?
That was a
do we
Toastmaster
ponder?
pause.
Oh, was it a Toastmaster? Oh, that was a good one. You even got me on that one. I wasn't ready for that one. I was getting to the point going, did I lose John? Did Z freeze on me? Please no.
I hope my camera's not overheating, but we've only got 3 webinars to do, one after the other today, so we're fine. We're
I
fine.
mean, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You know, it's hard work. What can you say? It's hard. It's production hardware, gang. It's production hardware. Yes.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid. Yeah. It's definitely production pro. We're on the power hour, everybody.
We
That's
are.
right.
And as the hour comes to a close and I run out of power,
Yeah.
I will thank you all for being here.
Yeah. And hopefully Z was not mad at you there. That's why he was like, oh, I'm going to blink out Z's camera for a few seconds. Yes, he still has his camera on. Yes, we can still see John. Still move, John. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So I would love to hear your comments about how you use browsers. I'd be really interested, especially as I'm writing software around that at the moment. So, if you've got some better ideas than Mike, then just tell us. I mean, it is hard to do better ideas than Mike, but if you have them, let us know and we'll see what we can do. And if we can't, we'll try and find a manufacturer who provide that service. Well, that's all from me from the Production Professionals Power Hour. And all I need to do now is try and find out why the song doesn't seem to know who we are properly. Because it always sounds wrong. But we'll fix that in post, as they say. That's the way we fix everything, guys, nowadays, isn't it? We always can fix it in post. And I'll leave you with Mike, who does a better closing DJ announcement than ever I do. So, over to him. Point in the right direction.
All right. So here we go. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us this week on the Production Professionals Power Hour. Yes, we're going to get that fixed in post. And don't forget to join us here every week, every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And John's all impressed that I did say it's 9 o'clock at night. So that's good. And of course, check your local time zones for when we are here live. And of course, you can always join us in the Z Webinar Plus if you'd like. And then you can actually join our show live. And also let us know in chat all the time if you do have any questions for us during the shows as well when we bring up certain topics that we're going to be talking about every week. All right. So on that note, Johnny, we'll see everyone next week for another edition of the Production Professionals Power Hour. Take care, everyone. See you next Friday and have a great weekend.
Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Production Professionals Power